Ooh, wonder what that is. Ah, got a delivery. What could be in there? So do you remember a few weeks ago we went and collected a consignment of video recorders which included a JVC D9 or Digital S format professional video recorder, and it turned out to be defective and possibly unrepairable because it looks like one of the reel motors has failed and we can't get a replacement. But that was one of two machines. There was another. So I sent this empty crate to the owner of those machines, and hopefully in here we have a working machine of the same type. But it's not been tested. And the crate was a little bit on the short side for the machine, so let's hope it survived. Okay, let's try and get this out of here. Well, it's looking good, isn't it? No obvious damage to that. So hopefully now we have a good working machine. We'll get this into the workshop and test it out. Before I even give it a tape, I'll do the self-test. So there's a way of telling it to do self-test at power up, which I've done on the other machine we were working on. So it says no cassette. So there's a menu button. How do we work this again? Remind myself. Menu. This is suddenly let go. That's not good, is it? That may have been damaged in transport. Oh dear, I hope not. That doesn't feel right. It's barely working. Right, 357, diag at power on. Ah, there we go. Diag at power on. Good, we've got that set. So I'll power cycle it, and then it'll go through the process of testing all the motors. JVC it says. And if it finishes without flashing auto off, then it has passed. That's good. Auto off is not flashing. So we can give it a tape. I'm just a bit worried about why that's, so I think that's mechanically let go. Right, let's pop a tape in. It's not playing. Is this in remote mode by any chance? Local. There we go. It might work now. There we go. The picture's abysmal. It looks like it might be not set to the composite output, or I'm using the wrong connector at the back. So let me just check that. I thought it was in the monitor output. I'm on monitor out. Alright, let's try one of these line outputs here. That should give us what we're looking for, shouldn't it? Okay, let's try playing that then. Oh, it's going to do the self-test again because I've not switched it off. Alright, let's just see if it'll play that tape properly now. It doesn't have the superimposed characters on the output, I think. Hit rewind. It's at the start of the tape. Press play. It doesn't look right, looks stripy. We'll have to go back to that other output, see if maybe we've got the wrong type of output selected. Okay, so back into the menu. What could be wrong here? I need to switch off that self-test. We've finished with that. Done that. 341 drum hours, that's pretty low. Video input YC. Fine. There doesn't seem to be any setting that could cause that stripy, dreadful picture. Well, I've set it up to do color bars, and that's just horrible. That's not right at all, and I don't believe it's a setting I have wrong, so something is wrong. Let's take the lid off the machine and see if there's anything obviously amiss inside. Everything looks fine. I guess I could reseat all the cards. Let's do that, shall we? You know, it has been transported. Okay, these cards are to do with RF processing, and since this affects the colour bars, it's nothing to do with that. OUT-ENC is possibly the area it's at, or some damage possibly to the rear panel. Okay, let's try it again. No, you can see it's still the same. Well, I've got nothing to lose. I'll try the OUT and generator board from the machine that's got the mechanical problem. There are a lot of capacitors on there, so it's entirely possible that it has failed. Okay, I won't worry about fitting the bracket back just to do the test. Let's switch it all on. No, it's the same. Okay, well that eliminates something. Oh, there's also OUT-ENC there, OUT-encoder. So I may as well swap that out too. Okay, try that. Oh, that looks different. Aha! There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. So there is a fault, either mechanical or electrical, on this board. Now we should be able to play a tape for the first time. Supply reel motor failure. Oh, for heaven's sake. Would you believe it? We've had another motor failure. So close to working. I'll eject the tape. Did it get damaged? No. Right, let's do that self-test thing again. Right. Power cycle it, and it will test the motors. Might be a good idea to actually take a look, don't you think? Switch off and on. Yes, both motors are spinning. Okay. In that case, we should be able to play a tape. Please, play the tape. So it's doing the self-test. This time it should actually play it. Looks promising. I can't remember what's on this tape. Something though. Well, I thought there was something on the tape. Can I rewind? Ah, there we go. We have something on the tape. Hit play. It's only a few seconds long, but we have something. Oh, good. I think there were errors on that, though. Not sure exactly what it's trying to tell me on the channel condition here. So, channel condition, I'm seeing blank, orange, orange. That doesn't look very good at all. So that says to me that it's, well, it may just have contaminated heads, but it's looking terrible. If there's no more on this tape, I'll just record some colour bars. But perhaps I should use my other machine for that. I've got another machine that is in working order. Maybe I should use that to do the colour bar generator. Let's just give it a whirl, see what happens. How do I hit record? Interestingly, the record button is just white. I'd have expected that to be red. Right, let's play a bit of that tape. And channel condition, all lights off now. Oh no, we've got off, yellow, yellow, which is not good. But of course, with the lack of movement on this, we can't really tell. Okay, I'll leave it recording for a while, and we'll come back to it later. Oh, I should put this lid back on, shouldn't I? Can do that while it's running, I think. Okay, so I have more to do to test it, but one of the things I want to do now is prove that this board is a problem by swapping it out with this one again to be absolutely sure that we have a fault on this board. So it's the OUT-ENC board. Right, and all we need to do is switch it on again, and if our colour bars don't appear correct, and they don't, then we've confirmed we definitely have a fault on that board. Couldn't really have done that without having a spare machine to borrow parts from. I think I'll take it out of that mode where it does the diag test. So what do you reckon? Do you reckon we've got bad capacitor in there somewhere? After running it for a while, we now have channel condition green. So that's good news. But with this particular, of course, playback we won't tell. But that looks like it's now working properly. I'll try and play a bit of the video. But the trouble is, I think that might be on damaged tape. You know, the moving video we were looking at earlier might be on damaged tape, so that might foul it up again. That bit of video footage still looked terrible. I think maybe that is a bad recording. Channel condition green. Do we get good video now? Yes! That's perfect. Good, the machine is working. So our only problem is this rather broken jog and shuttle control. If that is broken, it's got jog lit there. No, I do think that has broken. It's working, but it's spinning around, and I don't think it's supposed to. So we may have damaged control in there.
I've been having a look at this board to see if there's a whole heap of bad capacitors in here, and it doesn't appear to be the case. So typically I'll find, you know, if you've got one value capacitor that's way off, it's way off throughout the board. So looking here at some 100 microfarad capacitors, I've got remote control foot switch for the ESR meter, which is handy. That's 100. Of course they're in circuit, so some may not measure. Another 100. All looking good. 1 microfarad, if this will read down that low. I don't think I got good contact. Try that again. Yeah, ESR does tend to be a bit higher on the low value ones. That's not a fault, so that's just where they are. Similarly, let's look for some different value ones because I'm not seeing any bad 100s yet. So some 33s. Let's have a look at some 33 microfarad capacitors. That looks good. Looking good. I think I saw some 47s earlier. Here we are. 47. Well, it's in circuit, so you can't measure them all. Another 47 down here. It reads 56, that's fine. I looked at quite a few 33s, I think, haven't I? 33, that's good. And as many 100s as you'd like to look at, they're all good. So it doesn't look like it's got mass capacitor failure, does it? So to do any more work on this, we'd really need to look at the signals. I mean, that should be possible, especially using the color bars, because you should be able to see what you're looking for there. And if we've got the schematics, we should be able to trace it through. But we would need extender cards in order to be able to access the board when it's on. And of course I don't have those. So it's going to be quite tricky to fix this. Oh, also, we don't know what's on the back side of this board. Peering through, it appears nothing. But there might be some surface mount on the back side. Yeah, it looks like just some passives on the back. So we can't really go a lot further with that. We just know it's faulty, but without extender cards, I don't see how we could fix that. So we have this fault here. I wonder if I can take the front off and get to that mechanism. Do I need to take the front off? There is a hole here, but I don't know what screw or Allen key or something we'd need to put into there. Interesting. That all seems quite sloppy. I don't know how that's supposed to be attached. Oh. It feels like maybe the whole problem was just that has come loose. This hasn't broken or anything. Okay, I think it's just a hex key in there. And I believe the problem is simply that it's fallen off the shaft, because what's under there is not spinning around aimlessly. Oh, this is an easy fix. I hope. So I just need to find a very long, very small Allen key that will go through there and do that up. I don't know if I've got any Allen keys of that type. Maybe I can get away with the Torx drive. It might just grip it enough to do that up. Let's give it a whirl. At least for now, until I get some different tools in. There we go. I think I found the... Yeah, that's doing up pretty tight. That's perfect. That's just what we wanted. Oh, okay, a bit of a wobble to it. Maybe that's just the design of it. But yeah, there we go. That's not slopping about anymore. I'm really pleased with that. Happened to be a really good fit, that. I didn't have to dismantle much at all. For a little bit more testing, I'll put it into the menu and check that we can scroll nicely through there. Oh, that's so much better than it was. It was sort of working before, but really difficult. Direct access. What does that mean? Don't know what that does. Good. Well, everything's now working nicely. Oh dear. I spoke too soon. Supply real motor failure. And goes into auto off. If I switch it off and on again, does that fault persist? Try fast forward first. Which will spin that motor a little bit. And now hit play. Can I do reverse? If I can go reverse, then the supply motor is working. Okay, so it's working, but we have an intermittent supply motor failure error. I suspect there's nothing much we can do about that. I could fit the supply motor from the other one, but that would be, I don't know, could be quite a difficult job, and there's a risk of doing damage. Right, you'll remember it was my plan to take the motor driver board that I had repaired with a replacement one of these chips. Well, repaired, turned out not to be faulty, and test it in here to make sure that there was no damage. However, I've become very nervous about doing that because we know that this machine intermittently is giving us a supply reel motor error, and the fault on the other one, if you remember, is the take-up. Now, I've been busy for a couple of weeks doing something completely different, and this machine has been sat here off now for about 2.5 weeks. So, I have decided amongst myself that I am not going to test that board on here because there's a tiny risk of damage that I just can't take. I suspect that the Hall effect sensor on the supply spool is a little intermittent, and I don't want to risk blowing that up. Now, it seems to be the case that it works every time flawlessly when I have that self-test diag mode enabled. So what happens is when it powers up, it does a test on all motors, and after that it'll work fine. But if I just put a tape in and hit play, then it could give me the supply reel error. So I want to try it now, having not been touched for about 2.5 weeks. Power it up, see if it goes through the self-test okay without flashing the auto off light at the end. And if it does, put a tape in and test it. I'm also wondering what would happen if you left that diag mode on with a tape in there. Would it eject the tape and then do the diag test, or would it refuse to do it? Interesting. We'll try and see what that does. Right, let's give it a whirl, see if it's going to work today. Okay, so it's the monitor's on. I'm going to switch on now. JVC it says, no cassette. We have colour, which is good. Looks like I have that option switched off at the moment. I thought I'd left it on. So let's go into the menu to switch that self-test on again. So diag at power on is set to off.
Okay, so I've switched that so that it's on, I think. If I go out of diag, go out of the menu mode, and then go back into menu mode, diag at power on is on. So power cycle it and confirm that it does the test and that the auto off light doesn't come on. This one here. So we will hear it test. Diagnostics, it says. I'm seeing sort of spottiness on the screen. I don't know what that is. But it doesn't have an input signal. But even so, it's a bit odd. No cassette, and auto off is not illuminated. So it should work. Okay, it's working. Servo light is on. Channel condition is on. I know it's still a colour bar and you wouldn't see any difference, but nonetheless, let's go back. There we have it. Okay, that's playing okay, I think. Channel condition is green. We had a few dropouts for a moment then, but it seems to have stopped. Test that again. Yes, that's playing fine. Pity I haven't got slightly more exciting video content, and the VU meters were bouncing around. There was some music on that. Okay. I believe I will be getting some more exciting content for this shortly, actually. Right, now let's try stopping it and doing a power cycle. So therefore the diag test with a tape in there. What will it do? Will it do the diag test or not? No, it won't. Because, of course, if it did it with a tape in there, it would damage the tape. So that only applies when there's no tape in there. Eject the tape, power cycle it, and see if it does the diag now. No cassette, and auto off is not illuminated. So it hasn't missed a beat at all today. The previous owner mentioned to me, oh look, these things are still got their original film on the front, you know, on the plastic work. And I was thinking, is this a film that should be peeled off before use? Or is it part of the design? Because you don't want to start pulling something off which isn't supposed to be removable. So perhaps I'll have a look at that on the machine which is non-functioning. That's the one that's got both the bad motor and the bad colour processing board. Okay, so this is the machine which we know has got bad motor and is also given up the colour processing board. It's also, if you remember, has some cosmetic damage on it. Right, so... oh yes, it has. Look, you can see this. Someone's taken the film off. And I think there's film on here as well. So this should come off. I don't know if you can see the difference between that being kind of smooth and this being kind of bobbly. So that should come off. Well, let's hope it's that's correct then. It's not coming off in a nice clean sheet as we might have expected, and some people get really very excited about. It's not coming off very nicely at all. Almost inclined not to carry on with this. Maybe it would have 20 years ago. I'm starting to seriously regret having started this. I'm going to have to peel that off bit by bit. Oh dear, why did I do this? Okay, I got that film off and it looks nicer for it, but I wouldn't have done it if I'd known. I used the back end of a plastic head cleaner stick to scrape it off without scratching the underlying plastic. Do you think that that film is supposed to come off or stay on? There's more of it on the panel underneath here where the controls are, and again that's been taken off this one. But I am obviously not going to try and do that again because that took forever and made an awful mess. Again, do you think that should be removed, that film? And also, I see it here on the VU meter for the defective unit. And I'm not sure, but I think it's also on this one. But I'm really not going to try and take it off the VU meter. It's also on this control panel here. You know, is that supposed to stay on or is it supposed to come off? Oh, look, I can see here that on the defective unit, a little bit of that material has been left behind there. So somebody's obviously tried to scrape that off and had similar sort of problems. It's horrible stuff, and I don't know what JVC were thinking of. Now, as you will remember, I do have another D9 machine, but what's better about this one is it has SDI digital out, whereas the other one had Firewire only and analog. Now, some customers would be happy with DV stream, but this is effectively two DV streams in this codec, very similar, in fact, possibly exactly the same as DVC Pro 50. So it's better if we can use the SDI output to get that lower compression, higher data rate video, though for many signals you'll never see the difference. Right, I'm going to stop there. This machine is now going to be installed in the studio, which will mean moving some other machines out of the way that I'm not using so much. I've got a Betacam UVW 1600p, I think it is, recorder, which I'm not really using because I tend to play the tapes on a DVW A500p digibeta machine, which has analog playback capability. I kind of like the UVW 1800, 1600 machines because, in my opinion, they give a slightly lower noise output because the bandwidth is a little bit less on those models. If you've got a really grubby tape, they can end up looking sort of cleaner than analog playback on the digibeta. But we digress. We're talking about this format. That machine now has, as we know, has got bad motor and bad color board, and unless anyone's got any extender cards they could lend me or sell me, there's no chance of fixing that. Right, I hope you've enjoyed what I've done here. Let me tell you, for some time now I've been doing a little bit on the end of the outro of all my videos, nearly all of them, and I cover a little bit more sort of interesting or off the wall sort of topics at the end of every video. So maybe after the outro, do hang around and learn a little bit about what went wrong when I tried to get this machine shipped to me. Right, I'll do plenty more content on audio and video technology in the near future. Bye for now. Oh yes, so what happened about getting this machine shipped to me? So you remember that the person I picked these up from, I picked up this one initially, and this one I left behind because I thought one's enough. And that turned out to be a mistake, as we now know. So the person didn't have any easy way of packaging up a great big machine like this. So I thought, well, I'll make things easy. I'll send them an empty box into which they can drop this machine, and that way I know the weight and dimensions and everything. I can pre-book it all on Interparcel, and there's no hassle for them then. They just need to drop the machine into the box and I'll arrange the courier collection. that didn't quite work out. I have a really good box, which was, okay, it's a tiny bit short and so was pushing slightly on the jog wheel, and that might be why the screw undid in there and I had to do that up. But fine, the box in that respect wasn't a problem. It was actually not a box, it's a crate, a really strong wooden crate, screws on the top, handles on the side. Wonderful thing for shipping heavy equipment like this. So what could go wrong? Well, Interparcel threw a paddy and said this container material involved extra work. What, you mean because it's got handles? No. They threw a paddy because the box was not made of cardboard. Really, it's a shipping container. You know, you get aluminium shipping containers and you get wooden shipping crates, and they're designed for that purpose. Right? They're far more suitable than a cardboard box. But no, they charged me about an extra £5 because I had sent the box through their system, and then another £5 because it got sent back. And it broke their terms and conditions because it wasn't made of cardboard. And they sent me this bill after the fact, so after I'd already got the machine. Now, what would have happened if I'd refused to pay it? I don't know. But they, of course, do scare tactics. They say, oh, if you don't pay within a week or whatever it was, 2 weeks, then we'll add another £15 to the bill. And you start thinking it's not worth the argument, is it? But what would have happened, since I already had the machine, how could they send the bailiffs after me for not paying a £5 each way? Because I'd broken their terms and conditions by sending a bloody crate instead of a cardboard box. So I used to recommend Interparcel all the time, but this is the second time they've fouled up. On a previous occasion, actually, in this respect, it was similar. I sent a box to someone to put a video recorder in and send it back. And in that case, the box was cardboard. But they threw a paddy because the box didn't weigh enough. So their system obviously weighed the box, thought that's not right, shifted the decimal place over, made it 10 times heavier than it was, then charged me for having an overweight box. And I said, you've messed up. And they weren't having it. They said, you have to provide us with documentary evidence that the empty cardboard box weighed as much as an empty cardboard box would do. Fortunately, I hadn't thrown it away and I had to take a photograph of an empty cardboard box, sat on a set of scales, showing what the weight was. Then they finally stopped pursuing me for something that was their mistake in the first place. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to say, not happy with Interparcel. They're messing about. It looks like they're looking for any opportunity to slap some extra charges on. I haven't tried some of the alternatives. Parcel Monkey, I think it does a similar job. Do they pull the same fast one? Because Interparcel don't send anything themselves. They are a kind of portal for the other shipping companies. And I think it was Parcel Force, I think, I used for this. I'll provide information on that. So is the fault really at the end with the courier company they use, or is it Interparcel for not pushing back against clearly made up charges like a box that didn't weigh enough or a crate that was made of wood? You tell me your thoughts. What alternatives would you use?